Shri Ganeshaya Namo Namah. Greetings to everyone, all our brothers and sisters across the globe. It's a green morning, green afternoon, green evening, wherever you are world over. Our focus during the pandemic and post-pandemic is on teachers, educators, trainers, counselors, coach, technocrats, and anybody who is directly or indirectly associated with the education ecosystem. Today on Wednesday, 30th of November 2022 at 8 p.m. Indian Standard Time. Ladies and gentlemen, let's move together ahead. Teachers as creative leaders. Now, the whole fulcrum, if you take into consideration, it's very interesting. Let's take all the words separately. First is teachers. We are not talking about administrators because principals are there, vice principals are there, headmasters are there, directors are there, vice chancellors are there. That is all administrative position what we are talking about. We are talking about actual teachers. People, those are directly engaged with the students while taking different sessions, different programs, whatever goes on. So teachers. Number two comes creative. Now, teachers as creative. When I talk about creative, that means how are you creative? How are you engaging your students? How are you making them happy, joyful learning? How are you bringing humor, dance, art, craft, culture, music, whatever you feel like? Which way you are creative? Are you having storytelling? Are you having activity? Are you taking children out of the classroom and you're with the nature, you're with the plants, you're with the flowers, you're with the greenery? You are showing them different flora and fauna. You are taking some different approach. How are you creative? How are you different? How you're not taking a routine program, rather you are taking a divergent journey and you are taking a new, innovative, creative approach. And third part is leader. Who is a leader? The one who leads, the one who makes followers, the one to whom people willingly wish to follow. So you got to have certain qualities. You got to have certain, parameters in your personality. You got to be carrying some aura, some charisma. Something got to be there with you. कोई आपको क्यों फॉलो करे, कोई क्यों आपके साथ जुड़े, कोई क्यों आपको सुने. That is something very important which you have to take into consideration. So teachers, if you want to be creative, if you want to take a leadership role, you got to really work yourself very hard. I always tell everybody, God ने हम सबको अलग अलग बनाया है. कोई लंबा है, कोई छोटा है, कोई पतला है, कोई मोटा है, कोई ज्यादा गोरा है, कोई कम गोरा है, कोई चश्मे के साथ है, कोई चश्मे के बिना है, किसी का लंबा चेहरा है, किसी का लंबा चौड़ा है. जो कुछ भी ले, हम सब अलग अलग हैं. हमारी परसेप्शंस, हमारी इंक्लिनेशन, हमारी डेडिकेशन, हमारा पैशन, व्हाटएवर वी वांट टू से, वो सब लोगों का अलग अलग है. लेकिन गॉड ने, अल्लाह ने, ईश्वर ने, वाहिगुरु ने, प्रभु ने, जिस परमात्मा को भी आप मानते हैं, उस परम आत्मा की जब हम बातचीत करें तो उसने हम सबको only one thing he has given common to all of us, and that I share with everybody. What is that which he has given common to all of us? Can somebody write on the YouTube? I'll feel very happy. What is that which God has given common to all of us? That is something very important. There's only one thing which he has given a common to all of us. I would like that all of us, you should give your version, your vision. You should share on the YouTube channel of ICSI India. Let me wait for a minute. If I do not get the inputs and the correct answer, then I'll share with you. But meanwhile, let me proceed, let me move ahead. And today we are covering up teachers as creative leaders. International Chamber for Service Industry extends a very warm welcome to all of you. Those are joining us on the YouTube. It's always indeed a great, great pleasure. Correct answers, the first person to give is Julie Subba ma'am, and that is time. Ladies and gentlemen, irrespective, people, those are joining me from Canada, USA, Latin America, European Union, Central Asia, Middle East, India, Southeast Asia, and South Asia, anywhere you're joining me from. क्योंकि Australia और New Zealand को सोने दो, it's in the middle of the night, let them sleep. But others, those are joining this particular program, our entire African continent also, if I take into consideration, ladies and gentlemen, it's very important. Time is God has given all of us 24 hours. And anybody who makes best use of time, they go ahead of others. It's a time management. It's a time recognition. It's a time appreciation. It's a valuing the time. That is something very important. So ICSI, International Chamber for Service Industry, extends a very warm welcome, which is a link between our Indian diaspora, the people, those who have gone abroad, our brothers and sisters, non-resident Indians, and of course, the leading corporate houses and the different ministries of the government from time to time, with whom we keep sharing the vision papers, documents, and everything. Today, when we are talking about teachers as a creative leaders, now, when you talk about teacher leadership, are we talking about of individual leadership, or are we talking about, the collective system leadership? That also we got to take into consideration. What is the power of the shared vision? That means collaboration. Now, ladies and gentlemen, in this post-pandemic time, particularly when the whole world has suffered so much during the pandemic, in the post-pandemic world, there are new approaches, there are new solutions, there's a totally mental shift, and the collaborative engagement is the most important thing, where the creativity, empathy, and the stewardship, everything being brought collective way together. And you used to, you got to have the systems thinking, you got to empower others, you got to work in the peer groups, and you got to be master of your subject, whatever. Now, mediocres will not do. Anybody who is a mediocre, you will have lots of difficult time in coming times. You got to be excelling in your profession, in your subject, in your contents, in your delivery, in your communication, in your collaboration, in your connecting, communication to connecting skills, connecting heart to heart, connecting soul to soul, connecting mind to mind. The good leaders are those can really bring others in their fold. That is something very important. And ladies and gentlemen, you got to work on your soft skills. You got to work on your technical skills. You got to work on your professional skills. You got to work on your digital skills, because we all have to join now. We got to share the creative, collaborative leadership. That is future, which we all have to understand. The role of the creative leader is not to have all the ideas, but it's to create a culture where everyone can have their ideas and feel they are valued. किसी का आइडिया छोटा नहीं है, बड़ा नहीं है, किसी का भी आइडिया small नहीं है, big नहीं है. We all got to be together, and that's the way we have to take the vision forward. So the role of the creative leader, ladies and gentlemen, in the modern times, in the future times, in the times to come, and particularly for the teachers, it's not that what beautiful ideas you alone have. Rather, it's to create a culture where everyone can have their ideas and they feel they are valued with their ideas. Now let's talk about, there's a divergent thinking. अलग अलग सोचते हैं, different तरीके से सोचते हैं. उन सब चीजों को जब हम लेकर चलते हैं, there are 7 ways to inspire divergent thinking. That is the divergent thinking in the classroom, wherever you are engaging or you are interacting with the youth, with the students, with everybody. This is something very important. You got to incorporate play. You got to, the child can say, I get really bored. Use multiple types of divergent thinking. And you got to embrace the creative constraints. And you got to use divergent thinking to get unstuck. And you got to be, celebrate the creative risk taking. And at the same time, ladies and gentlemen, If you really want to be a creative leader, you've got to chase your curiosity along with others, because you've got to make your subject inquisitive and creative, and there got to be a curiosity. Now, supporting teachers to develop young people's creativity through a broad and a diverse curriculum. How that is going to be possible? It got to be imaginative, inquisitive, it got to be persistent, it got to be collaborative, and it got to be disciplined. Of course, when you're talking about imaginative, let's see that using intuition, making connections, playing with possibilities. If you're talking about inquisitiveness, and being inquisitive, that means wondering and questioning, exploring and investigating, challenging assumptions. And if you talk about persistent, that means tolerating uncertainty and sticking with difficulty and daring to be different. When you think about collaborative, that means collaborative appropriately, giving and receiving feedback, sharing the product. And when you talk about discipline, that means crafting and improving, developing techniques, and reflecting critically. All that you have to take into consideration, supporting teachers to develop young people's creativity through a broad and diverse curriculum. That is something very important which we all have to realize. During the second wave, we lost one of very dear friends and a great, great soul, that is Sir Ken Robinson. And what a person. And he was the one who used to say, do schools kill creativity? And there's a beautiful video of his Death Valley. And besides that, he has run numerous videos which are most popular in education ecosystem on YouTube. And look at his quote: teaching is a creative profession, not a delivery system. Great teachers do pass on information, but what great teachers also do is mentor, stimulate, provoke, and engage. If you want to be teacher leader, you've got to be taking all that into consideration. So आज इतना ही, और अंत में आपसे वही शेयर करना चाहेंगे कि right from the first day of the pandemic, we got focused totally onto education ecosystem. We did about 1,600 webinars during pandemic. Our chamber is very happy and very proud. We brought India's first finishing school in a very humble way for the service industry way back in 1994, where we worked on personality, communication, collaboration, creativity, innovation, curiosity, critical thinking, design thinking, continuous and lifelong learning. And we took all basic ingredients and different tools like music, humor, fun, dance, happiness, passion, stimulation, storytelling. That is also very important. So we are happy that more than 52,000 youth and approximately 35,000 teachers, they passed through this particular session. When education is for empowerment, when education is for inspiration, when education is for entrepreneurship and employment, all the startups and everybody whosoever is coming up, because we got to be teacher, creative leaders, critical thinking, and creative thinking, decision making, working on to values and empathy. And in the 21st century now, let's move ahead post-pandemic. Right from the brick and mortar, we come digital totally, and that is Inspirational Lab, where we work on curiosity, creativity, imagination, innovation, design thinking, critical thinking, adaptive learning, immersive learning, project-based learning, and technology adoption. All that what we take into consideration, and there got to be a joyful learning. That is something very important. And in Inspirational Lab, we work on mental wellness, physical wellness, professional wellness, social wellness, and economic wellness. And teachers, we got to work on your capacity building in the most innovative and a creative way. Do you remember 17 Sustainable Development Goals, which India started in a very big way, in a very systematic way? And Niti Aayog took lots of initiative on that, with the project-based learning, real-world needs learning, and learning through nature, and teachers being gardeners, for the children, and then water management, waste to resource management, climate change, carbon neutral, understanding the cultural diversity and respecting others' culture. And they got to be immersive learning experiences. All that being a part of the entire collaborative arrangement. Teacher, creative teacher, and teacher leader, you got to be passionate, you got to be creative, and you got to be innovative. And ladies and gentlemen, if you want to be creative teacher leader, you got to think only one important quote: whatever your mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. That is something very important, which we all have to appreciate. Let's come together. Let's make education and skills relevant through innovative education, futuristic education, and it got to be realistic, based on either entrepreneurship or employment or startup, whatsoever you want. With this, we have completed about 1,739 webinars, right, starting during this pandemic, ladies and gentlemen. And we are proud of the Honorable Advisor of Chandigarh Administration, to whom we met and we made a presentation. He invited his entire team. It was wonderful to interact with the Director, Higher Education, Technical Education, School Education, and the implementation of the NEP 2020. And besides that, when you talk about RUSA, Rashtriya Uchitar Shiksha Abhiyan, Samagra Shiksha Abhiyan, how there could be a creativity and how an inspirational lab can work too much on that. So our chamber is working in the direction, making Chandigarh as a role model for education, for skills, for research and innovation. So come forward. Let's join hands together. We had gone on ground to ITI for women in Sector 11 Chandigarh. Thereafter, we went to ITI Sector 28 of Chandigarh. We had gone to thereafter Polytechnic in Sector 26, another Polytechnic in Sector 10. Thereafter, we moved to the B.Ed College in Sector 20D Chandigarh. And then we are also gone to Sector 23A Chandigarh. And thereafter, I wish to share with all of you that in a very short while, in the month of January, our annual convention is coming up, and that's going to be dedicated totally onto education, onto skills, on creativity, on competencies, on capabilities, the best kind of studies which will come from Singapore, Finland, and we'll be focusing on entire North India. And before I wind up today's session, wish to share with all of you for 1 minute, and that is, what is the concept of Inspirational Lab? Why Inspirational Lab?
Welcome to the Inspirational Lab of ICSI Finishing School for Service Industry. The International Chamber for Service Industry, or ICSI, brought on ground India's first finishing school for the service industry in 1994. However, it has become an inspirational lab and turned completely digital post-pandemic. Here, the students link academics beyond syllabi. They journey from effective communication to connecting skills, curiosity to creativity, along with soft skills, life skills and technical skills. Health and wellness is another important component of the Inspirational Lab at ICSI. Inspirational Lab is an initiative of ICSI to develop a holistic approach in education transformation. Visit icsiindia.in.
So, ladies and gentlemen, with that, we come to the end of today's presentation. Look forward meeting you tomorrow evening at 8 o'clock. And always remember, the world population is aging. India got to fill the gaps world over. If you want to become global teacher, if you want to become teacher leader, you've got to be creative. And creativity is going to help you. And of course, with creativity, you've got to be collaborative, you've got to be curious, and you've got to adopt the digital technology. And our Inspirational Lab will help you wholeheartedly in all respects. Let's work together. Let's move together. Look forward meeting you tomorrow evening at 8 o'clock. तब तक अपना ध्यान रखिए, ख्याल रखिए और चुस्त रहिए, तंदुरुस्त रहिए, मस्त रहिए. मिलते हैं कल शाम.